Well, today's episode is going to be a lot more interesting than we anticipate. First things first, I'm going to review the latest GCW event that took place in Providence, Rhode Island. Or I think that's what's it called. It took place on the 19th of November. This was the first time ever going to Providence, Rhode Island. I have to say, there's a lot of good matches that took place and interesting storylines that will be built. We're also going to review the latest GLEAT show that took place, G Pro Wrestling 39. We have several interesting matches that took place on this one, especially certain stories that I did not anticipate it would be that good, but we'll see what happens from there on. And of course, we got New Japan Pro Wrestling. We continue on more with the both tournaments, World Tag League and Super Junior Tag League. However, the Super Junior Tag League takes the stage for this particular day. And then finally, we got AEW Dynamite. We got some interesting things taking place. We're now in the fallout after Full Gear. So that is the most critical thing. Where do we go from here after Full Gear? We're just going to find out. Also, we got some interesting news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, let's begin with GCW Aura. This one took place on the 20th of November 4 at Providence, Rhode Island. This is the first time ever going there. It opened up with the GCW tag team titles. Los Macizos took put the titles on the line against Main Event. Now, originally, Main Event were not scheduled for this, but they were last minute add after Waves and Curls. One of the members was unable to do so, so that was something beyond the control. But the match itself was pretty good. Don't get me wrong. Despite that, I was looking forward with Waves and Curls being in there. But Main Event really brought up a pretty good show, but it wasn't enough until um, it was Cyclops with the Shining Wizard onto Midas Black, and then finally Cyclops Medio Extremo was the one who picked up the pinfall to win the match and retain the titles. So they continue their reign. So that's one right there. Next up, we got Matt Cardona versus Jordan Oliver. Now, you know how Matt Cardona is. He claims that he is the reason that JCW is game changer. But when it comes to Jordan Oliver, you know he has something to say that, since we know that he's been declared as the young pillars of GCW alongside Nick Wayne and several others. Matt Cardona doesn't see things that way. Now, it doesn't surprise me that he was going to cheat his way through when he low blowed Jordan Oliver, but it did not work until finally Jordan Oliver got him with the cloud cutter and then have him land on top of the title. 1, 2, 3, it wins. And of course, Matt Cardona ran like a coward with his internet championship. He cares so much, but I don't think Jordan Oliver cares for that belt one way or the other. Next up, we got a four-way match. We have Dylan McKay versus Leon Slater versus Ninja Mac versus Tony Deppen. Now, this is a very far more interesting matchup. I have to say there was a lot of good spots. Now, personally, I would have assumed it was going to be either Ninja Mac to win this one, but it ended with, of course, Tony Deppen with the Phoenix on to I think to Ninja Mac to win the match. But during his post match, he decided to put out a promo. He felt that he has been disrespected by Brett Lauderdale and everybody in the upper management of GCW, because he felt it's a load of crap that he never got his world title opportunity. And he now is saying to Nick Gage, who's watching, telling him that his time is up, that he's going to send him to rehab, and he's the one who's going to carry the company in his back. Now, many of us could agree Nick Gage is GCW, but Tony Deppen feels he should be the one carrying the flag. But you know how Nick Gage will be? He'll just tell him F you. So apparently he did call him out for a match later on in December. I don't remember which. In America's Most Wanted. Now I remember. That one's going to take place on the 16th of December. So Nick Gage will put that title on the line. But I'm sure if I was Tony Deppen, I'd be careful what you wish for. Now our next match, we have tag team action. We have Second Gear Crew, Effie, Matthew Justice, and the Southern Psycho Mance Warner taking on Sawyer Wreck, Dark Sheik, and Ratty Daddy Code Radrick. I thought this match was pretty good. Now, you probably would have assumed right from day one, from the moment this match happened, Second Gear Crew had this right in the back. No. Surprisingly, it was in fact Code Radrick who did a roll-up onto Effie, which is the Kuma roll that we see with Koguma in Stardom. He did that move onto Effie to pick up the win. However, Raddick also was talking about Nick Gage, because here's the thing. There's a difference between certain wrestlers that respect Nick Gage and those who feel Nick Gage should just leave GCW altogether. Cole Radrick respects Nick Gage, and he called out his shot that's going to take place on the 3rd of December, and that's going to be on the title. Now, Nick Gage did say that I don't give a F about you and all this and that. However, we were surprised with the appearance of Maki Ito, and she does the whole thing what we see with with Nick Gage, where he says, "Where's my effing gang at?" So that kind of sets that up pretty well. So I think she wanted to have a little bit of an interaction with Nick Gage. I thought it was fun. So don't get me wrong. But her opponent is someone she should be taking lightly. That is, of course, Masha Slamovich. I thought that match was great. Now, many of you probably would assume that Maki Ito was going to win. I would have thought that too until Masha Slamovich applied her pile driver. 1, 2, 3, it was over right from there. And then, of course, Masha tried to handshake her, but we all know how Maki Ito does. She gives him the bird, and she gives the bird back. So that was pretty fun right there. Next up, this is a very sadistic match. We have Charles Mason versus Alley Catch. Now, I don't know what the purpose was with Charles Mason. This guy's a real sicko who's been going after her for odd reasons. But we would have assumed Alley Catch would have got her payback against him. But apparently, this guy, he spits something in her face and pile driver. Next thing we know, he tried to handcuff her through the ropes, but Effie came out to save. And then Charles Mason goes out saying that, Brett Lauderdale, no one in the GCW cares about her, or the fans care about her, which is not true. He has a sadistic mind. But there was only one person that actually did care about her, and that is Effie. So his target was never Alley Catch. It was Effie for some odd reason. But luckily, Second Gear Crew came out to the rescue. And of course, Charles Mason ran like a damn coward that he is. Sooner or later, Effie may have to deal with him one way or the other. Now, our next match, we have Alec Price versus Nick Wayne. I think this was a pretty awesome match because Alec Price has been, making waves right now recently in GCW, and I think that's a good thing. But he has to go through Nick Wayne, who is a prodigy, and I think that sets everything. But I was surprised how the outcome was with Alec winning the match with this amazing kick, and boom, it was over from there. So I think we're going to see more expectations coming from Alec Price in the future, so we'll see where they're going to go. And then finally, we have a 6-way scramble match. We got Chris Hamrick versus Jamie Lloyd versus Marcus Mathers versus One Call Manders versus Shane Mercer versus Dustin Waller. I thought this match was also going to be interesting. Now, scramble matches, things could go either way, but it was, of course, Shane Mercer, the Iron Beast, who pulled off the moonsault battery onto Marcus Mathers and picked up a W. So, good one right there. Now, our main event is a bit of a rematch between Mike Bailey and, of course, Jonathan Gresham. I thought this match was pretty good. Now, I would have assumed that Jonathan Gresham was going to walk out as a victor, but no, it did not. Um, Mike Bailey put up every stop on Jonathan Gresham to win, but it was Mike Bailey's Flamingo driver that sealed the deal for him to pick up a win against Jonathan Gresham. I thought this match was pretty good. But, however, wouldn't be surprised if they turn this into a rubber match. That is something we could definitely see down the line, but we just got to wait and see on the next GCW events that will be taking place early in December. So we'll find out soon enough. I think that's pretty much it right now with GCW. I believe it's time for GLEAT. Okay, the latest GLEAT show, G Pro Wrestling version 39. This one just was recently on the 23rd of November. No, yeah, on the 23rd of November. Opened up with 6-man tag team action. We have Kaichi Sato of 60 Seconds teaming up with um, Suji, a well-known, respected veteran in the junior heavyweight division all over Japan. And then, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Shima. They take on Takumi Ito, Masato Kamino, and, of course, Hartley Jackson, who is the current top champion in Gambari Pro. I thought this match was pretty good. It was pretty amazing, but it was Ito with the German suplex onto Sato, who picked the win. However, that does not end there after this match. During the post match, Kazuma Sakamoto shows up and recruits Hartley Jackson to side with him to join the Bulk Orchestra. Now, I don't know if Ito and Camino were planning to form their own. It seems it's just the two of them, but it seemed they were a little disappointed that Hartley sided with them. So it was very surprising that he just accepted them right away. But we'll see about that. Now, our next match is a UWF rules match. We have Maya Fukuda versus Michiko Miyagi. Now, Miyagi has been the dominant in the UWF rules. I have to say, I was rather surprised how this match went because normally Maya Fukuda is the weakest link, but somehow she scored a big win against Miyagi when she gave her the KO. I'm like, oh my god. And this is a huge victory for her. I know she has learned a lot, but wow, she was very emotional, especially when she was giving out her post-match comments. So I'm not gonna take that away from her. Now our next match we have Minoru Suzuki. Yes, folks, the king himself taking on Yu Iizuka. I have to, Yu Iizuka, yeah, that's his name. You probably can guess how this one's gonna go. He's gonna get his ass whooped by the murder grandpa, all that. But it did. It ended with, of course, with the Gotch style pile driver and good night. So Minoru Suzuki win the match. Next up, we got tag team action. We got Soma Watanabe and Minoru Tanaka taking on Black Generation, a faction based out of Mexico, consistent of Flamita and Utani. You can guess that this match was very good. I think we're now giving some fans are getting a little taste of Black Generation, but I never seen them completely. I was well aware of the existence of this faction, but seeing them to believe it, I have to say it was pretty good. But it was Flamita with the Spanish Fly onto Wanabe that picked up the victory. So great job there. Next up, we got Kaz Hayashi taking on the veteran Tatsumi Fujinari or Mario. Sorry, my writing's a little crooked. But this is more of the battle of who is the veteran side on this one. But it was, of course, Tatsumi who picked up the win by applying a very strong, powerful submission that forced Hayashi to give up completely. Now, our next match, we have Strong Hearts, consistent of Itsuki Onitsuka, Shigeru and T-Hawk, taking on 60 Seconds, Oji Shiba, Jon Toncho, and Tetsuya Izushi. This was a pretty impressive match. But however, in this one, Inosuke was able to pick up the win when he applied a spear onto Toncho to give him the win. I think he's coming out from losing the previous one last time, so that kind of gave him a little boost. Next up, we got some interesting trios match. We have Shiru, Hanzo, and the Great Sasaki taking on Taka Michinoku, Super Delphine, and Jinsei Shinzaki. I think it was a pretty good fun match, but I wasn't had too much hype. But it was a power bomb that was made by Jinsei onto Shuri that picked up the win. Now our next match, this was a very interesting one. This is for the G-Rex title. We got the G-Rex tag team titles to be exact. We have Quiet Storm and Kaito Ishida taking on Bulk Orchestra's Check Shimatani and Hayato Tamura, and I wasn't sure how this was going to be. But this match ended in no contest with the sudden arrival of Black Generation, who started attacking them. But the strange part is, Hartley Jackson shows up and helps Black Generation. So what was the purpose of that? I think this is insane. Are we seeing now Black Generation coming to Japan to make a statement? We don't know. It's still unclear on my part. However, members of the Bulk Orchestra were not too pleased, especially Hayato Tamura, who was like, can't believe this is happening. But I wouldn't be surprised if the leader of Kawakami will be called into question for thinking of bringing this guy in, Kaito Ishida. So it's kind of interesting on that. But the thing is, Ishida sides with Harley and Black Generation. And then it turned into an 8-man tag match. Flamita, Utani, Kaito Ishida, and Hartley Jackson taking on Check Shimatani, Hayato Tamura, Quiet Storm, and of course 60 Seconds leader Tetsuya Izushi. Now Izushi has his issues towards Ishida. Looks like this is not over, but however, the German suplex by Ishida to Izushi gave it away. So we don't know what's the purpose of Black Generation teaming up with Ishida and Jackson. So we'll find out soon enough, and I think we'll go from there. But right now, let's move on with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, we're in day 3 of the tournaments, but however, in this particular day for New Japan Pro Wrestling, we have the Super Junior Tag League taking place. So let's get on with that right now. Our opening match, we have Dick Togo and Show of the House of Torture taking on Kevin Knight and Kushida. Now, you know for a fact, wherever these weasels, Dick Togo and Show, go, Evil and Yujiro are not that far behind. So basically, in this particular match, Kevin Knight and Kushida has to be more prepared than ever. But luckily, when they did show up, they took care of business. But it was, in fact, the bridge suplex by Kushida onto Show that helped them win the match. So this is going to be interesting. So Kevin Knight and Kushida picked up their first win. Next up, we got LIJ, Titan, and Bushi taking on Clark Connors and Ryusuke Taguchi. Now, keep in mind, in day 1, LIJ had their first loss on this one, but also Connors and Taguchi did have a really good win on day 1 as well. You probably would have guessed there's going to be a lot of comedy in this one. Yes, that's something that's been done for due to Taguchi's behavior, the way he is. just having a little bit of fun. But however, in this one, it was El Inmortal by Titan that finished off a Taguchi, but it was Bushi who was the legal man that picked up the pinfall onto Taguchi. 1, 2, 3, they win. Next up, we got Chaos, Leo Rush, and Yo taking on the Flying Tigers, Tiger Mask, and um, Robbie Eagles. Now, Rush and Yo did have their first loss on day one against against United Empires, Akira, and TJP, but it was a pretty good one. Now, it was no secret to me that sooner or later that right now with the combination with Yo and Leo Rush was going to be something special. But of course, they decided to finish off the Tiger Mask with the 3K, which is a move that normally we see with Yo and Show. But since Show is now with House of Torture, then what's this is better yet to try it again, but with someone else. But it was that allowed them to pick up the win against the Flying Tigers. Next up, we have the Bullet Club consisting of Chris Bay and Ace Austin. They take on Suzuki Goons, Doiki, and Kanemaru. Excellent match. I have to say, I like how now the Bay and Austin are picking up the pace. Now, we could see a similar situation with them, what we saw with the best of the Super Juniors with Ace Austin. I think that's something we have expected because many people thought that he was going to be that Austin was going to be the fan favorite, but we seem like we're getting into that kind of position. But it was, of course, the art of finesse that kind of disorient Doiki, but Ace Austin finished him off with the fold. 1, 2, 3, they won the match. And finally, our last match, we have Alex Zane and El Lindaman taking on Catch 22, consistent of the members of United Empire, Akira, and TJP. I thought this match was pretty fun, very interesting. Not to mention, Alex Zane tried to take a meal out of somebody, but it did not work. But it was a um, pinfall that allowed them to win the match. So I think in this particular match we could see maybe if nothing goes wrong halfway through, that maybe the United Empire could win and they will pick their next opponents. And I think that's what they're hoping for. But the one thing they're still looking for is to go to Wrestle Kingdom, and that is something we could definitely see. But will they drop the titles? Well, we don't know for sure until we get there. But right now, let's just end it right here and move on with our last review, AEW Dynamite. Okay, AEW Dynamite. We just entered in the fallout after Full Gear. Now, a lot of questions raises after what happened at the main event. Why did William Regal betray Jon Moxley and help MJF? Now, we originally were supposed to hear from MJF, but he wasn't there due to his involvement with the movie The Iron Claw, the Von Erich biopic. Regal was about to talk until Moxley shows up. Looks more like he wanted to tear apart, but it was Bryan Danielson who pleaded him to not hurt him. Now, you could say in your minds like it would have been better if Moxley just beat the crap out of him. But I think it's the story that tells it all. Like Danielson knows that he owes everything to William Regal, but is Jon Moxley willing to do that? So he gave him the option to leave and not come back. And I think that kind of reminds me a little bit of The Lion King. If you guys remember, Scar did the same thing to Simba, and then Simba did the same thing to Scar. And I think we're seeing in a similar passion. But however, where do we go from here now? I know Moxley is hurt that his mentor did this, so we'll just gotta wait and see. Now, still some unanswered questions regarding after what happened at Full Gear with Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. However, we just don't know how this is. Renee Paquette was about to give an interview, but Swerve shows up. But Keith Lee told him, choose your words. So what Strickland did, he said, let's talk. So it looks more like he was looking for the right words. So that kind of sets the tone on that. Now, our opening match is the AEW All Atlantic Championship between Jake Hager and Orange Cassidy. So it was a pretty fun match because, as you know, Hager's been wearing that purple hat that he's been wearing every single time. I thought that whole thing was so much fun. But of course, we were going to expect interference from the JSA, and then, of course, Best Friends were going to help out. But luckily, it was the Casadora by um, what's his name, Orange Cassidy, that allowed him to retain his title. But however, QT Marshall and the Factory weren't still has their issues towards the Best Friends in hoping they get even. But when they thought things were getting good for them, it got a little more stranger. Lights goes out. Right at the stage, we see Julia Hart. And we all know what that meant. It meant the House of Black are back and they obliterated Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends. But the best part is the Factory were so stupid. They thought, yeah, thank you guys, you did exactly our favor. Nope. Wrong again, dickwads. It does not work that way with the House of Black. It was no secret to me that they declare war against everyone. And I think that tells us the story. House of Black are back with the vengeance, and they'll take out anybody. It doesn't matter if Factory are happy that they took out the Best Friends. No, you guys are going to get your asses whooped. And I think that's what the story is. So we're going to see what is going on now. Some people say they should make a play for the trios, but I would agree on that. But we'll see where they're going to go from there. Now, we get the finals of the AEW World Title Eliminator match. We have Ethan Page, who, once again, Stokey Hathaway decides to saying that Ethan Page is going to win this one, that he is the true guy who's going to challenge MJF for this. However, Ricky Starks is the one who is in pain wearing tape. I thought this match was very interesting because we see Stark, who has come a long way where he was going. He was bandaged up, but the one thing was so interesting. Stokey Hathaway got his hand caught in a cookie jar. When Stark was about to fly off, he moved Ethan Page. Ref saw that, but he told him to leave. So Stokey thought he was smart, but nope. He got rid of him. But it took at least 3 spears for Ricky Starks to take down Ethan Page. And I think the X factor is the bandages that around the waist of Ricky Starks that were the problem, but he got the job done. So he will face MJF at Winter is Coming. Now, we do get a very interesting interview with Jade Cargill. As you know, there was a bit of a matter that took place of interaction between Jade and Bow Wow. So that video kind of goes out away, but Jade Cargill refuses to talk. But the one thing that, of course, Jade was happy is the fact that she got her title back from Nyla Rose. But unfortunately, a little bit of the celebration was taking place. But, oh yeah, and also Red Velvet came back, who I don't know how long she was out, but she was back. She did her job. And, of course, they're going to celebrate. But Smart Mark Sterling, who we didn't think I don't know if he was still representing her, but it seems like he is, said that she has no comment for the Bow Wow situation. But unfortunately, that wasn't the end of it. Looks more like Kiera Hogan is out of the baddies. I think Jade Cargill felt that Kiera Hogan failed her to do her part. So where do we go with Kiera Hogan on that? Well, we don't know. But we'll see about that when that day arrives. Now, we do get match 2 of the best of the match series. We have the Elite, Kenny, and the Young Bucks taking on Death Triangle. The match was pretty good. I have to say it was pretty amazing. But however, there's a lot of controversy coming in from people who are close to CM Punk. Now, if you guys remember at Full Gear, we heard fans were saying, fuck CM Punk during that time. And I think that says it all. But the obvious question to me was in this one, how will the Elite be taken in on this one? Will the fans turn their backs on the Elite? Will they boo them or they'll say fuck the Elite? I don't know. But it looks more like it was split in half from that. But one thing that was noticeable is that the Elite decided to mock CM Punk. There was a moment, of course, where we remembered where CM Punk was trying to do the Buckshot Lariat and he missed. Matt Jackson was trying to do that. It did not work. So it was like a direct message to him. And of course, Kenny biting Pac was another message to Ace Steel. Many people from who are close to CM Punk were not too settled with this whole mockery. So it could be a problem, but we'll see where they're going to go. But once again, in this particular match, the Hammer played another part on this one, and it took out Matt Jackson, giving them the win. Now, Renee Paquette comes out with interesting news. This was a news that was already been officiated. Turns out that AEW and Thunder Rosa has come into agreement that Thunder Rosa has to relinquish the AEW Women's title, and now it appears that Jamie Hayter is now the official AEW Women's champion. But I did notice certain things when it came to this. It's more like Britt Baker was speaking on behalf of Jamie Hayter. I feel like Jamie Hayter is, sooner or later we could see the moment where either Jamie Hayter betrays Britt Baker or Britt Baker will betray. I don't know, but that's not the only part. But there was a match they set up where we see not only Britt and Baker and Hayter, they take on Mello and Anna Jay against Nightingale and Sky Blue. But in this particular match, I wouldn't be surprised that the first person that would definitely challenge Jamie Hayter for the title will be either Ty Mello or Anna Jay, because they would do anything to establish themselves to make sure that sports entertainers will be the ones taking the spotlight. But it was Britt Baker with the stomp onto Sky Blue to win. But I felt in this match, this could be the beginning, maybe where we see Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter split off. And I think that's what fans are looking for. But we got to pay attention closely to the interactions with these two and the matches they probably will have together. Now, our next interview this time was coming with Renee. We have FTR and Top Flight now. Top Flight set up this interview. They wanted to talk to FTR, but FTR had some things to say. They look at Top Flight as the next generation of a tag team that they feel like once they're gone, they are the ones who are going to make changes in the whole thing. And of course, Top Flight felt that they the same way about them. So they even said that their dream match is to have an opportunity with FTR, but they would like the shot of the ROH tag team titles. But of course, FTR said, no problem, we don't turn down a fight. And of course, funny, they go, okay, Top Flight out. You got top guys on Top Flight. What is this? Top dudes? So that match will take place in Rampage this coming Friday. Now, we do get a little promo with the Acclaim and Billy. Apparently, there are certain things that took place. As you know, Billy's hands are fine, but once again, they were interrupted by Dutt, Lethal, and Jarrett, who felt like the Acclaim opened their big mouths. But the Acclaim, they don't care. They just like to have a little fun. And I think that's what it is. And not to mention, everybody loves the Acclaim. That is the reason why they are the tag team champions. Now, our main event is the ROH World Championship. We have Chris Jericho taking on Tomohiro Ishii. They know each other before, but it's not through New Japan. It was from Genichiro Tenryu's promotion, War, Wrestling Association and Romance. I think that's what it's called itself in the acronyms. Turns out that Tomohiro Ishii was a young boy who had to follow Jericho. But I think that kind of sets it in. But what I did like is how Ishii was applying too many chops on this one. But you can see Jericho's chest turning red. It was bleeding out. And I thought that was great. But it was, of course, the Judas effect and the Brawls of Jericho that sealed the deal for him to retain the title. But as you know, Jericho's mission is to obliterate the legacy of ROH. As you know, he has tried many times over to get his hands on Ian Riccaboni, the commentator from Ring of Honor, to obliterate him. But luckily for him, Claudio Castagnoli shows up and slap him in the face. So Claudio had it with Jericho, try to hurt a non-wrestler. And I feel in this storyline, we're looking at a guy like Jericho who feels Ring of Honor, they need to stop with this crap. But Castagnoli, he is the guy who felt Ring of Honor needs to bring back its glory where it rightfully belongs. So we're looking at two people who have two different point of views. So I don't know when that's going to take place, but we will see more of that. I think we got Final Battle taking place on the 10th of December, ironically, which is, of course, which was, I forgot what was taking place on that day, but we'll see about that. So I think that's pretty much it with our reviews. I believe it's time for news updates. Alrighty, so welcome to our news updates. So here's what we have right now. For our GCW updates, this is what we have determined that's been on social media. For the Wasted Time event on the 3rd of December, we're going to have Tony Deppen versus Jordan Oliver. This is going to be a very interesting match. Now, for the upcoming LA event at America's Most Wanted on the 16th of December, it's already been announced that Matt Cardona and Alex Price will be present. Now, it's still unclear who they're going to be facing, but I'm going to presume that sooner or later we will find out what matches these guys will be involved. Now, also for their New Year's weekend that will be taking place later, it was already announced that Maki Ito will participate in both shows at, what's the other one? Till Infinity and 56 Nights. So I'm looking forward to Maki Ito. As you know, she's become a fan favorite to show up at GCW. Now, interesting developments taking place with Noah. Yohei and KZ from Dragon Gate issued a challenge to the current GHC Junior Tag Team Champions, members of the Noah regulars, junior regulars, that they want to have a shot at the tag team title. So this is going to be interesting. I know that if you probably ask yourselves this question, why is Yohei teaming up with KZ? Well, it appears that KZ and Yohei can get along, but not to mention, before going to Noah, Yohei was trained at Dragon Gate, so it seems like a proper way for him to go back to where it all began for him. But as you know, we've been seeing Dragon Gate and Noah getting along great, so we'll see how that goes. Now, as you know, Gatoh Move has been only posting shows like every once a month. We just saw a recent one, but there's another one that will be taking place later on in December on the 28th. This one is called Arena Shinkiba 2021. I think they're using this because 3 of the 4 wrestlers participated recently in Mexico, but the 4th one has been in Mexico before. So this is going to be a tag team match taking place. Team number 1 is going to be Hikari Shimizu of Colors, teaming up with Tai Homna, who was the winner of the tournament that members of the MLC women's division were a part of. They take on Mei Shruga and Kaho Kobayashi. So if you guys know this, Kaho Kobayashi has wrestled in Mexico before. She used to be a masked wrestler, but now it's going to be interesting that these are 4 ladies in the Yoshi World that were involved in Mexico. Now, as much as I want this to be part of the Unagi Sayaka watch on this one, it was announced for the Marvelous event on the 27th that Unagi will be facing Maria at the Hakata Nishi Tetsu Hall. Now, this was a match that I know for a fact that Maria's been looking forward to it. She knows how much of a challenge Unagi is, but she will not allow her attitude or her presence cause a problem to Marvelous. I mean, right now, there's been talk about AI Hosen, who seems like opened up to Unagi. So that is something they got to stay clear of. Now, as you know, we're not that far off right now for the 1st anniversary of Deadlock Pro Wrestling. It was announced that the DPW World Championship will be on the line. The new champion, Lucky Ali, will put the title on the line against the former champion, Bo Jackson. Now, keep in mind, Bo Jackson was not pinned on the last event. It was Kid Bandit. Bo Jack was not happy with Kid Bandit getting himself involved. It would have been much easier for Bojack to win the match without anybody being there. Because the X factor when it comes to matches like this, when it comes to championships, the actual champion doesn't need to be pinned. That is a problem. But luckily for Bojack, it's going to happen. But Lucky Ali, I know for a fact he's going to say that he's going to walk out as the champion. Now, for our next update, Prestige Wrestling for the Vendetta event that will be taking place on the 21st of January. There's going to be anything goes, no DQ match, and it's going to be none other DDT star Shun Katsumata versus the ace of Prestige Wrestling, Sonico. This is going to be fun. Now, I've seen Shun Katsumata. He is crazy, and he does unorthodox matches. I know he's done these type, but I'm looking forward to it. Now, for Wrestling Revolver, now we weren't sure about this, but apparently for their season finale event taking place on the 3rd of December, Jon Moxley will be there, but as special appearance and autograph signing sessions. Now, we don't know for sure if he'll be allowed to wrestle since he signed a 5-year deal with AEW that kind of forced him to drop the GCW title. So we still don't know much about that, but we'll see what happens then. Now, I mentioned this before. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, as you know, they've begun the announcing who will participate in the upcoming Battle of Los Angeles, or as we call it, BOLA. Their second entrance was announced, and I have to say this was a surprise to me. It's going to be Shun Skywalker will be making his way there. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Now, our final update here. Ice Ribbon, as you know, announced that Yuki Mashiro will be retiring, but apparently she picked her opponent for her retirement match, and the opponent, I did not anticipate this, but I have to say it's going to be an interesting one, and this individual thought the same thing too. Yuki Mashiro's opponent is going to be none other than Zuzu Suzuki. I have to say this is going to be fun. And I'm sure Zuzu, and I think Zuzu sent on her Twitter page that she's looking forward to this. I think it's going to be interesting. Some of you may ask me, had those two ever interacted before? I'm going to presume yes, but we'll see what happens then. And I think that's pretty much it for our news updates. So I believe it's time to call it a day. Okay, so hope everybody enjoys everything on all the reviews and all this and that, the news updates. Coming up, as you know, the following day is going to be Thanksgiving. I will be doing some reviews on that one. I know for a fact Impact is on it. Not sure about MLW because, as you know, it's Turkey Day. There's still some events I haven't reviewed yet, but I'm looking forward to know which ones I haven't done. I'll just wing it on the next episode. I feel like that's the only option I got because it's kind of difficult because I'm not sure for Impact Wrestling if this is going to be an actual show or just show best of sort of things. Same thing with MLW, though. We don't know. So I'll find out soon enough and do all of that for all of you. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.